Anyway, I hope we're ready to get immersed in how many trees are there in Skyrim. Aren't you guys curious? I've always never wondered this. I've never wondered this. This has never been a question on my mind, actually.
How many trees are there in Skyrim?
Tell
Don't look it
me.
up. Don't read the comments. Just think about it for a second. You think there are more than 1,000? More than 10,000?
There's at least 7. At least like 6, 7.
I'm sure it's obvious, but today that's
Maybe
what
8.
we're going to try to figure out, and we're going to do it without using any mods. I'm literally going to go inside Skyrim as a character, walk around, and just count them. Like
You
1,
psychopath.
2, 3, you know? Once I think I know how many there are, we're going to get someone to dig into the game files, figure out the actual number, and see how close we actually got. But in order to make this really fun, I'm not going to be the only one guessing. I've enlisted the help of 10 other incredible creators and one very special guest, each of whom will also try to guess the number of trees. And then at the end of the video, we're going to see who was closest to the real number, and whoever wins a $10,000 donation to the charity of their choice.
I'm the charity,
Guys,
please.
now, I'm sure you have a lot of questions, like which trees actually count and what even qualifies as a tree, and I will answer all of those questions.
Ooh, true. I didn't think about the
But
definition of a
first,
tree.
I want you to think of your own guess. You can even write it down in the comments if you want to, and then compare your guess to the very first number from one of our guest participants.
Mad Pat. Sorry, we can look at his beautiful face. The special guest I got. I feel like Cardinal or Iris would be the special guest. I would have $10,000 if it were me. This is only slightly better than playing WoW without mods. Ugh, Jesus. Guys, what is your guess for how many trees are in Skyrim? I without even opening the game, I'm gonna say a number like 1,416. 1,416. That's my guess. I feel like that's a fair guess. It's closer to 5K. You think? At least 2,700? 46,000. I already watched this video, so I know the answer. Well, what was your guess before you watched the video? You know, now that I think about it, it could be closer to 5K. That does actually sound way more reasonable. I changed my mind. 3,756. $3,756. That's my final guess. Before I watched it was 75K. Skyrim's not that big. There's maybe like 75K like rocks. Anyway, let's see what beautiful Matt Pat has to say. We're not impregnating him, by the way.
Hello, Internet. My name is Matthew Patrick, better known online as Matt Pat, and I have been asked the question:
Game
how many
theory.
trees are there in Skyrim?
Thanks for filming outside for the immersion.
Yes, that is an example of a tree. Thank you for the.
Oh, thank you.
Taking it at face value and assuming, you know, if I were just to put out a number out there into the world, I'm gonna guess 83,700.
That is a high number.
Trees. That's my guess.
That is a high number.
Okay, so Matt Pat himself, possibly the most qualified person on the planet for this particular question, outside of an actual forest surveyor, thinks there are 83,762 trees in Skyrim. We will see if he's right later on. Now, when I first came up with this idea, which was actually inspired by a joke comment someone made on one of my community posts, I legitimately thought I was just going to be able to open up Skyrim, pick a starting point, and then just walk around and count the trees by hand. You know, I thought it would take maybe a few hours, but with a little bit of patience, I could pull it off and have a perfectly accurate count within a day or two. But I was very wrong about that. Oh
Silly goose.
God. How am I gonna... Okay, maybe that's like 10, 20, 30, 50, and then maybe like...
You're not counting these by hand, you're estimating.
There are clearly a lot of trees in Skyrim, way more than I initially thought, and it was obvious I was going to need a more sophisticated system for trying to count them. So I decided we would basically do 3 levels of guessing, each one more complicated than the last one. So to start, we're just going to eyeball it, you know, vibe it out, which basically meant, you know, running around forested areas, rapidly counting as many trees as I could, and then just finding a high enough vantage point that I could see far enough to guess how many there might be in a total area. Sort of like a...
Do you guys know how I would have done this? This is not the smart answer, I guess. I would have done it completely differently. I would have made a new character. And as soon as you leave Helgen, I would start counting those trees. Well, I would count the trees in Helgen. Any trees on the way to Helgen, because I don't know if you can go back that way, right, during the intro. Because, like, what if you miss those trees? And then I would just count, like, starting from the left of the road. I would leave the road and just count. And, like, I would group it into an area and block off that map. And, like, I would just, like, draw lines if I would ever lose count. Like, oh, there's 37 trees in this area. And I would be, like, pixel perfect on my map. And I would just individually count them. Put an item at the bottom of a counted tree. That would also be good. Because I could just, like, spawn in a bunch of cheese wheels. And you can see cheese wheels from anywhere. Because they're so fucking bright. Yeah, see? You would just, like, drop a cheese wheel at a counted tree. I basically chose half of MatPat's answer and I feel less confident. Dog, I said 3,576. How do you think I feel?
Weird, very immersive version of a jelly bean counting contest. I thought there were maybe 7,000 trees near Falkreath, maybe 8,000 or so around Morthal here, 10,000 down here in the aspen forests near Riften. It wasn't perfect, but I thought I'd at least be getting sort of in the ballpark with all of these guesses. But the more I walked around, man, the more it became clear that this was going to be an absolutely gargantuan task. 100, okay, we're just gonna say 2,000. We're just gonna call it 8,000 in this whole valley. How about that? And on top of that, I had to figure out exactly what even counted as a tree for this survey, which sounds silly, but it's actually
I
more
feel like my
complicated
number
than you
is
might
really
think.
low
This was
now.
actually something that MatPat brought up in his video submission that I very rudely cut out for pacing, so let him explain it to you.
This might be a trick question, Eddie Austin, might be, because technically speaking, trees don't exist. The biological definition of a tree is just like a label that we've arbitrarily put on certain plant life out there. So this could be a trick question, and the real answer is that no trees exist in Skyrim because
Gravity, hello, gravity, hello, hi, hello, hi, you can follow away. Nice, thank you. Hello, hi, hello, hi. Gravity, boom. What are you playing? League of Legends! We were talking about that earlier. But yeah, I'm going back to my video. The video is how many trees are there in Skyrim? And MatPat's a special guest. He's not the special guest, by the way. He's just one of the guests. MatPat is not the special guest, by the way. So who is the special guest? Is it BB No Money? But yeah, back to my Skyrim video. If you need to eat or sleep or do anything, Gravity, make sure you take care of yourself. Don't feel obligated to stick around. Thank you very much. I love you.
the definition of tree is a nebulous concept.
So after giving it some thought, I decided I was going to keep the rules extremely simple. Trunk, tall, branches. If it looks like a tree, I'm counting it as a tree. We're using the kindergarten definition of a tree.
I
Got
see.
it? So in the end, purely based on vibes, I decided that my first guess was going to be 41,500
Special guest
trees
is the
in Skyrim,
Dragonborn
and that's
himself,
just from
Todd
me
Howard,
walking
maybe.
around and eyeballing it. So less than half of MatPat's guess, which obviously makes me a little bit nervous. In fact, why don't we see what some of our other participants guessed and then see if that makes us feel any better.
My name is Juve, and I believe that there are 1,627 trees in the hit 2011 video game, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim.
That is... Was that not my first guess?
Well, hello. My name is Kate. Taking an educated guess from the amount of time I've spent roaming that map for my entire adult life, it feels like at this point, I would say that there is at least 38,752.
I like that guess.
Hello. Oh, that light's really bright. I'm H Bomber Guy, and I think there are 45,000 trees in Skyrim. And if there aren't, there should be. Goodbye.
Bye!
All right, 3 more guesses on the board. I'm not sure if that does make me feel better, but I think it did. So the question now is, if there are too many trees to actually count them one by one, which there definitely is, and just wandering around trying to guess.
I mean, you could do it in a
isn't
week if you're really
trustworthy. What
psychopathic.
can we do to get a more accurate count without
Give
cheating?
me-
You know, I'm not trying to lose my
give
own
me 500
competition
bucks
after
in a
all,
week
which is
and I'll
why
do
we're
it.
going to move on to our second method of guessing, random sampling. I know it sounds really stupid, but according to science, if we just randomly count trees in a bunch of different spots across Skyrim, there's a way that we can use math to estimate the total number of
Yeah,
trees
fuck
in the
that.
game
Individually
with
count them with a
high
cheese wheel.
degree of certainty. I know, I'm skeptical too, but apparently it's real. Basically how it works is we're going to use a multi-stage random number generator to pick a random point on our map, and then from that random point we're going to walk a randomly selected number of paces in a randomly selected direction. Once we get to wherever that leads us, we drop an item on the ground to serve as a marker and then count every single tree within 25 meters of that point.
How do I
and take
determine
that
what is
number,
25
divide it by
meters?
the area of the circle, which is about 1,820 meters squared, which
Jesus
will then
Christ.
give us the average number of trees per meter squared. And then once you do that, you do it again.
I feel
A whole
pain.
bunch. The more times, the better. 1, 2, 3, certainly. 5 trees. Not very many, you guys. Not very many. I mean, we could call it 3 if we're being generous. I guess between those two, we'll call it 3. 6? I count that.
I feel
1, 2,
physical
3,
pain in my
4.
spine.
Now, just for the math geniuses out there, I did fudge my numbers in the explanation there just to make it easier to follow, because we actually used paces to judge all of our distances, like literal walking paces
see.
in the game. But rest assured, the math does check out. I'll leave a link down below to the complete data set if you want to dig through it yourself and find all of the mistakes I made. I ended up taking 20 of these random samples, and I noticed 2 really interesting things about Skyrim while doing this part of the survey. Firstly, the amount of trees. The game really doesn't have that many trees. In my head,
Yeah.
Skyrim is this super woodsy game where the paths are always lined with forests full of wolves, but in reality, take a look at this. This is a fantastic topographical map of Skyrim that was posted on Reddit 13 years ago by a user named InsanoFlex, who, among many other fun details, mapped out all of the areas in the game that they
Okay, Snob, hear me out. I don't know how to cure cancer. I'm not capable of ending world hunger, but I can count the trees in Skyrim. All right? I'm simply not capable of the other two things. But give me $500 in a week, and I could count the trees in Skyrim.
thought had tree coverage. It's not perfect. There are places on this map that look like they don't have trees, but then if you go there in the game, they do, but it's more than good enough for this purpose. And it shows that only about 35% of the playable area in the game has tree coverage. And a lot of that tree coverage isn't even very dense. So that's interesting compared to just what I thought about Skyrim in my head. But the second interesting thing is the tree varieties. The majority of trees in this game are some kind of pine tree, and there are some variations from region to region in terms
Yeah, they're
of how
super
those
leafy.
look. But maybe the most interesting trees are these ones in the Reach. The closest real-life analog to them is something called a bristlecone pine or some sort of other wind-stunted.
You know what's crazy? I never thought about
tree,
those
which
trees.
can be found all over the western United States.
He did not say
And
how
what's
many yet.
interesting is that these trees in real life are known for being extremely resilient to harsh climates, poor soils, and high winds, which fits perfectly with their in-game location of the Reach, which is windy, dry, and mountainous. Environmental storytelling. So cool. Anyway, now that I have all of these
Environmental
samples, how do we turn
storytelling.
those samples into an estimate for the total number of trees in Skyrim? Well, all we need to do is take the average number of trees per square
I never really thought about these trees too much. Like, I was very just like, yeah, that's a tree. I never thought about, like, anything regarding this tree at all, ever. Because I feel like I've seen trees like this, but maybe, like, I just assumed since it was winter, there were no leaves on the tree. Because I feel like I've seen this kind of tree before, like a tree in this shape. Is it so unusual? He pointed it out, and now, like, I'm like, I swear to God, I've seen this kind of tree before. Just, like, in the US of A.
meter in our samples, which is 0.0016, and then apply that number to all of Skyrim. You know, basically what we're saying is, hey, we looked around and found that on average there are 0.0016 trees per square meter in a bunch of different random places, so we're going to assume that on average that's going to be the case across all of Skyrim. There's just one problem. We don't know how big Skyrim is. People online often say that it's about 31.7 square kilometers, but that includes a whole bunch of area that isn't actually part of the playable game, and it's also based on on data pulled from the game's code converted to kilometers by somebody that we don't know, that we don't trust. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm just saying we don't know that it's right. So the solution to this, of course, is obvious. I had to recalculate Skyrim size on my own using paces. So that's what I did. And it took some time, but it actually wasn't super complicated. I basically just used the grid that we have to walk between various points, counting the numbers of paces between those points.
Yeah, I feel like
I figured out that these little squares were 221 meters on each side. Then I figured out how many of those little squares were actually inside the playable area of Skyrim, did some quick math, and discovered that Skyrim's entire playable area is approximately 17.8 square kilometers, or 17,854,707 square meters. If you remembered from above, we estimated with our survey that there are, on average, 0.0016 trees per square meter in the game. So we just take that number, multiply it by the total number.
Wait,
of
was it
square
closer to
meters,
my
and we
original
get
guess?
28,006 trees in Skyrim.
Oh.
Now, this is a pretty reasonable guess, but I'm going to add 1,500 extra trees to this number because I know for a fact that there are some trees out of bounds in this game, like these ones here, and there are also some that are inside of caves or cities, which would not have been included in our survey, which brings my official second guess to 29,506 trees in Skyrim, which is a lot lower than my eyeball guess, and I'm very curious how it stacks up to a few more of our guesses from our participants. Let's roll some more of those, shall we?
Hello, Corbin. Welcome to my lab.
Bandicoot here in a forest near Falkreath, and there are a lot of trees around here. My guess is 50,000 trees.
I see.
That seems a little high. My guess is 25,000 trees. Final answer.
You're being attacked. Shit. I was too
Hi,
late.
my name's Juniper Dev, and I think that there's at
She's
least
really
3
cute.
trees in Skyrim. Specifically 41,937.
Okay.
trees. That's my guess.
Okay.
Hi, this is YouTube's Jacob Geller, guessing how many trees there are in Skyrim. I've applied all my literary and analytical skills to this,
Okay.
and I'm relatively confident the answer is 7,983 trees.
That's very.
Back to you, Austin.
All right, let's
a
add
reasonable
those
number.
three to the board. It's starting to get interesting. So in theory, according to mathematics, my second guess here should have the highest likelihood of being correct of all the guesses here because we actually used science to get it or whatever. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't feeling a little bit nervous about it, which is why we're going to do one more survey, this time using the actual methods that would be deployed if you were doing a real field survey of a real area. And if you were actually doing a real field survey, you're going to want to be wearing the #1 underwear in the world for tree surveying, MeUndies. Welcome to the sponsorship. You know, this is going to be my last video of 2025, and it wouldn't be right to end it with any other sponsor than MeUndies. I should have asked them for a Skyrim tree guess.
I was like,
wonder if
there's
they
a
would've done that.
specific
Oh, well. I
underwear
love
for
wearing
surveying.
MeUndies. I've loved everything I've purchased from them. I hear from people all the time about how they bought MeUndies on my recommendation, and they also
I
love
see them all the time
Look,
on TikTok.
Here is one pair of mine. I only have one pair.
Oh, he showed us his underwear. He showed us his underwear.
If you
He's
need
being
underwear
naughty.
of any kind,
Oh,
boxers,
this is
briefs,
tight.
bralettes, whatever, and you've never tried MeUndies before, do it. You can return them for a full refund if you don't like them. and I
45
will
days,
not
that's pretty
be
generous.
offended. MeUndies has been one of our primary sponsors for over a year now, and
for
throughout that
him.
whole time, what have I always told you guys? I've always told you I love my MeUndies, and I'm even wearing them right now. But I've never actually shown you that I was wearing them because I didn't think our relationship had reached that point yet. Well,
This is my
I
second
still
video I've
feel the
watched from
same
you.
way, so let's give it another year and then we'll see. Maybe I'll show you at that time, okay? I appreciate that you trust me that I actually am wearing them. They are right here. Literally, they're right here.
Okay.
If you could see, it would say MeUndies right here, like where a tramp stamp would be. I don't know if I can say that, but that's
I'm
about
feeling
where it
nervous
would
that he's
be.
making
I
eye contact
appreciate
with
you
me.
trusting me with that. Anyway, knock out all of your holiday gifting needs today with MeUndies. To get exclusive holiday deals up to 50% off, go to MeUndies.com.
I don't know if you get
/AnyAustin and
holiday
enter
deals
promo
anymore.
code
Sorry.
AnyAustin. That's MeUndies.com/AnyAustin. Promo code AnyAustin for up to 50%
I like
off.
the colors.
I recognize that it's like December 19th, so it's probably too late to order them in time for Christmas, but you know,
Oh,
it's never a
go
bad
back.
time to give the gift of comfy underpants to your loved ones.
True.
Even if
My loved ones
is
is me,
yourself.
myself, and
Okay,
I.
anyway, thanks everyone. Let's get back to
Wait, he didn't
trees.
show
So
me
as of now,
him
we've
wearing
got a
them.
good selection of guesses from me
Scammed.
and others, as well as one scientifically backed estimate, which is different than a guess, over here. But there's one important thing I left out of that first survey that I need to explain to you now before we can do our final survey and reveal the winner of the $10,000 $1,000 prize. I left out something called the margin of error. You've probably heard about this before in the context
The margin
of
of error,
political
yeah.
polls, but the margin of error is kind
Very
of like
scientific
a measurement
kind
of
of
how
thing.
certain we are about our estimate, sort of. It'll honestly make
Is
more
it
sense
like-
if I just show it to you in context, so let's just do that. The
Topaz is fucking crying. Do you hear him? Oh, now he stops. He has to be wearing only the underwear for me to buy them. Shirt, pants, no service. Mmm. 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 I'm hearing footsteps. I'm hearing footsteps. Oh, Jesus. Oh. Panoa?
Wow, the floor. It's been a while.
Is your shoes on? It's me? No, the fuck it's not. Flash said he would model the undies? Ooh, yeah. Thank you. Noah. I'm so excited. Let me take a bite. Take a bite. Panoa mac and cheese. Mmm. Yeah, now I'm gonna eat while I finish watching this video. This is gonna be an eating video.
original estimate that we got from our survey was 28,006 trees. Since we only did 20 samples, our margin of error is pretty high.
It is
about
pretty high.
16,000 trees, which means that in theory, the actual number of trees in the game could be anywhere from 12,000 trees all the way up to a possible 44,000 trees, which sucks. Now, those extreme ends of the scale are less likely to be the actual number than the ones closer to the middle, but they are still possible.
I guessed
And
really low,
numbers
so I don't
outside
know.
of that range are also possible, but extremely unlikely. Now, unfortunately, for some of the people on the board, that means it's probably highly unlikely that the number is going to be as low as Juve's guess, for example, of 1,627, and it's also unlikely to be as high as MatPat's guess of 83,762.
I don't know, I want it to be really low.
So the question for us is, how can we make that margin of error smaller so that our guess becomes more accurate,
more
so
samples?
that we
No?
can be sure that we're going to defeat everybody else at this competition, which of course is the most important part. In real life, if you want to count the number of trees in an area, like let's say you want to know the number of trees in Alaska or something, you don't just literally sample random places in Alaska, whether it's a beautiful lake in a forest or inside of the Anchorage airport outside of the Humpy's Alaskan Ale House, and then derive the density from that. There's no reason to even include something like an airport terminal in your survey because you know there's going to be no trees. And this is basically what we did for our first sampling survey. It works, but there are smarter ways to do it.
There is
So
a Skyrim
what you can
multiplayer
do
mod.
is divide your whole area into zones
I think it's super
that you
janky.
suspect are going to have similar densities. The samples in those smaller zones are going to be a lot more uniform, and that's good because it increases our confidence
So
that
is
the
it-
sample is actually representing the true.
Let me guess the survey method. Is it dividing up the region into different zones? He had the topographical map earlier. So if he counted the forest dense areas in different samples versus like the barren areas in different samples. Tree counting stream with viewers won. Ooh, you guys want to count trees with me? I was thinking about doing a solo one, but if I enlist the help of others, but then I'd feel like I have to check your work. I don't know how cheat codes work so much because I was just getting myself God mode in case I got fucking attacked.
Density across the zone. Using the forestry map that I showed you earlier, we're going to divide Skyrim into 4 zones to represent the 4 main biomes of trees that I found in the
Guess
game.
what I
In the north,
guessed?
you've got
I was
the
right.
snowy pine trees. The west has the reach pines that we discussed earlier. The east has the beautiful fall-colored aspens near Riften.
They are
and then
so
the
pretty.
center has all of those big green pine trees that we associate with cities like Falkreath. What this means is that all of the land we know is likely empty is not going to count, and therefore those empty samples won't disturb our data as much, and thus our confidence will increase. Statistically, this is way better than the other way that we did our sampling. Instead of our estimate having a 55% margin of error like it did before, this kind of stratified survey is going to let us push that uncertainty down to a 20% margin of error without having to take nearly as many samples as we would using the other method, which is great. So the survey itself ended up going pretty smoothly this time around. I was a
Look at
lot
him,
more
he's
prepared
floating.
for the monotony, and it was almost fun to fill in all of my squares and watch the numbers start to fill themselves out as we went along. Obviously, there were some difficulties.
I
in
love an
terms of
Excel
keeping
spreadsheet.
track of our position, and I made just tons of mathematics errors because I'm really out of practice of doing simple math. Someone explain to me why that would, like, why do we have to do 52 squared? I guess that's please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Converting my paces into walking paces? Why would it be less? It wouldn't be less. There's no, that doesn't make sense. But eventually
Silly
we
goose.
fixed all of that, triple checked our data, and once I was able to look at all of the numbers, I noticed something really interesting. The average density of the forests in Skyrim, even when we're only surveying squares that we know have trees in them, is insanely low. On average, our Skyrim forests have a tree density of about 29 trees per acre of land. And if you don't know, an acre
What
is
is an
about
acre
the size of a
in
football
Skyrim?
field. A real forest, like say the Black Forest in Germany, has about 250 trees per acre on average, which is nearly 10 times more dense. In a way,
Counting the
this kind of
flowers? What
means
the
that
hell?
Skyrim's forests aren't really forests, at least in terms of realism. They're a lot closer to the density of trees you might find in a
No, when I mean like checking your work, I'd be like walking over and checking if you put a cheese wheel under every tree. Did you cheese wheel this right? The cheese wheel's gotta be on the north side for ease of counting. That's what I mean. I'd physically go there like, let me check your area. That's a good cheese wheel right there. You missed this tree, it needs a cheese wheel. Did you count this one?
place like Central Park in New York, a place that's built by humans for other humans to walk through and hang out in while still feeling aesthetically naturey. Which is interesting because Skyrim is a place that's built by humans for other humans to walk through and hang out in that's meant to feel aesthetically naturey. It's easy to look at this and go, see, Bethesda doesn't make their games realistic. They should do more research like Kingdom Come Deliverance. But I actually think this is kind of beautiful. Skyrim is just a big giant nature park built by a bunch of people for you. It's made for you. How neat is that? It does make me want to do a tree survey in Kingdom Come Deliverance too, though. I think it would be really cool to examine the differences between those two games, and I bet that even games like that or Red Dead are really not even that close to real as well. Anyway, I've kept you in suspense long enough. Let's hear from our final 3 participants with their guesses, and then I'll give you my final guess.
Hello, it's Jabbo here, Annie Austin's long-lost cousin, and I think there's 32,420 trees in Skyrim.
Hi, my name is Memoria Matters. I'm 5'6", and I'll be applying for the role of Tim Burton's Willy Wonka.
Oh!
Just kidding. I'm Memoria, and I think there are 50,000 trees in Skyrim.
Nakey Jakey!
Hello, my name is Snakey with 7 Ys, and I think that there are...
You're a liar.
Well, let's actually think about this. Skyrim is a pretty big game. It's not as big as you remember because they did a really good job making it feel big, but it's still really big, and it feels like there's a lot of trees. It's got Todd. It's made by Todd.
Does have Todd.
16 times the detail. Let's go 1,600. I'm going to guess 1,600. I don't know if that's too low or too high, but I feel good about that. Thank you for having me.
That is a
Annie
very good guess.
Austin,
I like that guess.
Anytime, any place, anywhere. That's why they call him Annie.
Also, she's the same height as
Also,
me.
he
I'm also
doesn't have an
5'6".
Audi.
What Jakey said at the end there, that is unconfirmed. He has no formal education in that field whatsoever. All right.
I see.
A tough competition indeed. Here is our full list. $10,000 on the line. Take one last look at the leaderboard here. Think of your own guess. And now let me reveal my final guess based on the ultimate science survey that we did. So after all that work, we put all our numbers in the formula. We calculated the average densities. And then we applied that to the 35% of the map that has trees on it. And our final best guess for how many trees there are in Skyrim is, drumroll please, 39,840. In theory, out-of-bounds trees should be counted in this number because they were on the map, but let's add an additional 500 trees to account for those indoor trees, which wouldn't be part of the survey, which will bring our official entry onto the board to 40,340.
That feels way too
All
high.
right. Now, before we reveal the actual number and decide who's going to win, two things. One, I was kind of bluffing. I'm not actually participating in terms of receiving the money. Just so you know, I had a dramatically unfair advantage due to being a super genius. I guess that's Pete.
Yeah.
Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So even if I'm the closest, I'm not getting the money. It's going to go to the guest that was the closest. And number two, as you probably saw, we actually do have one more person who submitted a number for the competition.
Is it
If I'm
Todd
not
Howard?
mistaken, this person also came with an extra little message for all of you. So why don't we play that now?
Hey, it's Todd here
No
at
way!
Bethesda Game Studios. Just want to give you a shout out. Thank you for the videos. All of us here in the studio love them so
That guy
much.
nodding
They're
like-
a great look at video game worlds, and they're so relaxing and so well done, so detailed. Understand there was a question on Skyrim. Matt?
How many trees are in Skyrim?
How many trees are in Skyrim? I don't know. I
Oh.
can go look it up, of course, but I'm going to go guess-wise 111,111.
11,
See
11,
how
11.
Good I do.
11, 11, 11. That's the release date of
No.
Skyrim. Fucking nerd.
More trees in the Elder Scrolls 6 than Skyrim, or less?
Are there going to be more trees in Elder Scrolls 6 or less?
More.
Most definitely more.
I mean, come on. Not only does Todd Howard come in on behalf of the team at Bethesda with an almost certainly wildly incorrect guess of 111,111, but he also says that the Elder Scrolls 6 will have more trees than Skyrim. I'm sure this is obvious, but I will be fact-checking that when the time comes. All right, the only thing left for us to do at this point is see who's right. In this envelope, I have written down on a piece of paper
When it comes
the
out in
exact
2035.
number of trees in Skyrim.
You think it's coming out
using
that
the
soon?
exact specifications that we set forth in this survey. It was compiled by a friend of the channel, Timon, who you may remember from when I pressured him into making a mod for GTA 5 that fixed all of the street signage. So I really thought he was the perfect person for this as
Really
well.
not
He
the
also
right
gave me the
person
idea to
for
turn this into
that.
a charity video, so shout out to him for that. And quickly, before I open this envelope, I know I'm dragging this out like crazy, but it's going to be worth it, trust me. Before I reveal the final number, I just want to say to everybody who participated in this video, all of these astonishingly talented and creative and inspiring people that I'm privileged to call acquaintances, or in some cases even friends, thank you very much. And I absolutely include everyone at Bethesda
Hope
Game
that'd be a
Studios
life
in
of that
as
release,
well.
exactly.
Just like every hardworking game developer out there, I know there are many of you watching. You
Stock
all
footage
inspire
website.
every single second of video that I put onto this website. All right, lock in, everybody. Enough of the sentimentality, okay? How many trees are there in Skyrim? For the record, I legitimately do not know the answer to this, so the moment I'm opening it is the moment I'm finding out.
Oh my
as
God,
well,
he's surprised.
Which means this
He's
is
gonna be
all
surprised.
unscripted. All right, I'm nervous that I got it completely wrong. I'll tell you what. Wow. The number of trees in Skyrim is 46,430 trees, which means that our winner is H Bomber Guy with a guess of 45,000 trees. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to the Palestinian.
I really thought
Children's
it was way
Relief
lower.
Fund. All of the charities that were picked by the people are going to be listed down below. They are all fantastic charities, so you can go look to them. And if you want to donate on behalf of your favorite creator, please feel free to do so. To every single person watching this, whether this is your first Any Austin video ever, or if you've been watching since Eggbusters
6th or
in
7th guess,
2013,
yeah,
I owe
definitely.
you one, and I'll keep working to repay that in 20-minute chunks every couple of weeks for as long as I possibly can. Like I said, this is my last video of the year, and I'm taking a little break to catch up on,
It's okay, I'm watching this in
having a
2026.
life.
I'm from the
So I will
future,
see
man.
you all in 2026.
I'm seeing you
And
now in
I'm
2026.
Any Austin. Thanks for watching.
No, thank you. That was a great video. I liked it. That was fire. That was fire. What's the top comment say? Aside from him. This is the most Elder Scrolls 6 news we've gotten in 7 years. Strangely, Todd has a recognizable silhouette, so he was not surprised. Also means he has good character design. Todd's hinting that Elder Scrolls 6 will release on the next 11/11/11. That's less than 86 years away. Trick question. There's one tree just moves very fast. I like that answer.
Want to see me run to that mountain and back? You want to see me do it again?
I like that answer. How many trees do you think in Elder Scrolls 6? Well, if Skyrim had
130.
46,430 trees, I estimate Elder Scrolls 6 will have 111,111 trees. I don't think the computers at Bethesda Studios can handle any more trees than that. I think their hardware limitations limit them to only release a game with a max of 111,111 trees. Especially after we watched that video, Bethesda's game design was outdated a decade ago. Remember that? Yeah, I don't think they can. Maybe if they procedurally generate their trees, but then like they wouldn't count as real trees then, would they? $111,135 trees is your guess? That's a good guess. We'll find out. We'll find out when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out.